Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
During a trip through time, the Legends were forced to land the Waverider in Blue Valley, Nebraska, where they discovered a young superhero.
Yes!
About to take flight.
That's cool.
Who are you?
I'm Stargirl.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. With all the brain swaps going around, I think I'm X-Force 11. Or am I just acting?
And I just might be the Flash. Or am I? I'm Harley Quinn.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
Hello, Legends.
Well, we are sending out our thoughts and prayers to Flash as his beloved cat Cyber is not doing well and Flash is away tending to him. So we just want to send our good thoughts his way. And it's just going to be the two of us tonight, giving him the night off just to rest and relax and recover.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys have a moment, I definitely reach out, maybe send him some well wishes and all the positive vibes and prayers in the world that you have. He could definitely use it right now, and I know he would really appreciate it to hear from our cosmic crew.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
All right, so the CW has released some of the start dates for their shows, but Flash, Superman and Lois, and Gotham Knight start dates have not yet been set.
Of
now
course.
there is a story floating out there from Spoiler TV about Superman and Lois starting on the 18th and the Flash on the 31st. But multiple reputable websites have reached out to the CWPR and they say those dates are not accurate. So at the time of this recording, there has been no release dates. So my thoughts on it is that Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., they move the Winchesters to 9 is when Flash is going to be. That's kind of my guess on it. It's either going to be Flash or Superman and Lois, but I kind of think it may be the Flash and then Superman and Lois being on Wednesday nights at 8 before Kung Fu. But we still don't have a firm date. I'm going to guess it may be towards March, but like I said, hopefully we'll get some information soon because we want to know.
I know. I wonder if they're delaying announcing when it's coming back because they're trying to maybe time it with closely enough with like news of what's going to happen to Superman and Lois ultimately. I mean, none of it is looking good as the show is, and as much as we want more, they've axed everything at the CW, and even DC TV in general is going away.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is, they've got the new studio heads.
Yeah.
But the issue is there is not going to be CW or DC series really quickly. I mean, they're working on the Penguin series. They've confirmed that they're going to do the Green Lantern series, but they're going to revamp it. It's got Jon Stewart now as being that kind of the head of it, but that's still probably about a year out. So I could see HBO Max saying, okay, we're going to take Superman and Lois in-house and maybe Gotham Knights too, depending on how it does, to give some content on the TV side until some of their other stuff picks up. But I just don't know with their talk of one universe, but that still doesn't play when you've got two different Batmen. And so I don't know. So I could see them doing it, and once again, I'm really hopeful that they do.
I know. I really want them to. I don't want that one to come to an end because it is so strong. I mean, even like Stargirl, I mean, we'll get into this. It got off to a rocky start, but they are sticking the landing the sticking. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so it's really a shame we're not going to get a season 4. And that's not going to be the first time you'll hear me say that tonight. Yeah,
definitely. I agree. So. And viewership was doing pretty good this week. 437,000 was the last number that I saw. Now that may change. That was kind of a tentative number that I saw, but still, it looks like a lot of people tuned in, and I'm sure once they heard about this episode, we may have had some DVR numbers on there that increase things and things like that. So
hopefully, that was a good one.
So a little bit of programming note, because next week is the series finale, and so many things are going on in December. I'm personally running sound next week for How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And we've got some other stuff going on. We're pushing back our recording a week and a day. So instead of being due on that Friday, it's going to be due on Saturday the 17th, so at 7 p.m. So, and if that time changes, if we have to record earlier in the day, we'll definitely let you know in the group. But you got a little extra time, so don't do like a lot of us do. Oh, I've got extra time, I'll just record it. Get your feedback in.
Don't forget, it's literally your last chance.
Yeah, don't put it off. Don't put it off. So
yeah, because I don't think we haven't really talked much about this behind the scenes. I don't know if we'll do a series wrap, series send off like we did for Legends for Stargirl, but since we are seeming to be getting lower and lower on content ideas, we just may do that, but no promises just yet. We have not discussed that at all. So treat it as if this is your last time to talk about Stargirl, the series. Make sure you get your stuff in.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's get on to our ratings. So I gave this one 9.5. Holy plot twist, Batman! So Flash called it last season. He said Sylvester was not himself when he was looking in that mirror, kind of adjusting his face, and he was right. I'm going to give much props to Flash for getting that prediction correct. And I personally thought the way that we were going to go was Sylvester was being controlled all along by Ultra-Humanite. But this was even more of a twist. So I still want to know why they killed the gambler, and we'll speculate on that a little bit as we go on further. But this episode really blew me away. I just wish we had more of this during the season.
I know.
More little hints and more stuff drawn out than some of the murder mystery stuff. But here's an interesting thought. So Ultra-Humanite helped Courtney defeat Eclipso last season because he needed her to get to Cosmo. It just brings up all these implications because it wasn't Starman that helped her. It was Ultra-Humanite in Sylvester. It's like you start to question every little interaction that he's had on the scene since he's gotten back, and thinking about, okay, so he's helping a former ISA ally. It's just mind blowing.
It is mind bending, if you will.
Yes.
And we might be embarking on a rewatch. Again, no promises. I'm just throwing things out there. We may be short on content, so but I feel like at the very least we need to rewatch anything where Starman entered the picture.
Yeah.
Because this casts it in a completely different light. Anyways, more on that later. I'm giving this episode 9.5 twists and turns I never saw coming. Oh, holy bananas, Batman. We both had the same thing. I think that's hilarious. At one point this season, I know I definitely theorized that Dragon King was still alive, but not in the way that I was thinking that he was still alive. So that's not really how I thought that was going to go. So that was super interesting. Actually, like, as I was watching this for a split second when, Pat's like creeping through the house, I was like, oh my gosh, Jordan's the Ultra-Humanite. Like, I totally had convinced myself that Jordan was really the Ultra-Humanite. And then Sylvester knocks Pat over the head, and I was like, no. It was insane. I didn't see it coming, and everything that has happened this season now makes so much more sense.
I know, right?
Everything we harped on, the entire reason Starman felt like a villain is because he is the villain. Mind seriously blown. Like, so well done. I'm very, very happy now that we know that all those out of character moments were exactly that. Literally. It was out of character because Starman was not Starman. Those were all of our clues that most of us missed. I'll credit Martin with having that theory originally, but I think even he was like, yeah, I don't know if that's really how it's going throughout season 3, but he did predict that. So props to him for that. I am now a little angry we're not getting a 4th season. I want to explore this dynamic. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the finale. Ultra-Humanite may not survive. Who knows? But I feel like there's so much more that they could have done with this, and I really want to know where they would have taken it, because they've shot a different ending now. Yeah. So the ending we're getting is not the ending we should have got.
Yeah. I really am looking forward to breaking down Ultra-Humanite's motivation and where they would have gone from here. And it's just like, what?
Yes, exactly. My jaw was literally on the floor. I almost jumped up off my couch. I was like, what just happened? It's crazy.
Yeah. And I really, I want to hear Flash's thoughts on, like, now that it's been revealed that there's this very specific reason for the way that he was acting, if he's going to think any differently of Joel.
Yep.
Because of how he was an actor playing a character, playing another, so it's like
it's
multiple
very layered.
levels. Yeah. It's like Orphan Black getting to Orphan Black levels, where you've got an actress playing multiple characters, and it's going to be interesting.
It's a dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right, so we're going to trade back and forth here on the notes. Jeff fortunately got a chance to watch it twice. I, due to prior commitments, have only watched it once. So this should be pretty fun. I've only watched it once, and I'm still this hyped on the episode, y'all. Let me just tell you that it was super great. But to start with, I wanted to call out the opening flashback, because given the context of the entire episode now, I thought that was actually super cool, because it actually helps set the stage for the entire episode. It's showing us how Ultra-Humanite really can slide in and out of roles and characters, and how good he is at becoming someone else, and no one really being the wiser, except, for a few people that think they see something but aren't quite sure what they see. So I thought that was really interesting, especially after we got the reveal.
Yeah. I loved the structure of this, how they had the picture in the standard 4.3 size and the grainy and the black and the white for the flashback, and when they were zooming out of the Stargirl logo, there was an imperfection in there like it was film. And it just shows you also how long Dragon King, Ultra-Humanite, and the others have been around since the golden age of Hollywood. And so we still don't necessarily, we know from the comics there's magic involved and other stuff going on, but we don't know like this in-universe description of how it particularly happened here. We assume it's the same way. But I wonder, one of the things that you brought up is talking about slipping in and out of the roles. It seems like from the actress and from Sylvester that Ultra-Humanite picks up, like he puts his brain in there, but like he has the memories and the understanding. And so like he is pulling from those people, those skill sets and abilities. So I wonder if because of being inside of this actress, that it gave him skills and abilities that he didn't have as far as the acting and playing those roles. Maybe he wasn't as good at it before he took over this actress's body. But yeah, it just really shows, you know, how ruthless he is just to get everything done, where he's killing that actress's admirer because he's getting too close and everything's going on. I just loved every little bit about it. And to see how long Dragon King had been experimenting on himself.
Yes.
Like, you know, little by little, you know, he'd take about from the golden age to Hollywood all the way up to modern day, he's been working on transforming himself. So it was a wild intro. It gave us a lot to think about.
It really did. I mean, they packed quite a lot into a very short space of time that, especially as a cold open, like you don't really understand the importance of. But I do think you're a bit onto something about how maybe the Ultra-Humanite seems to like pick up traits from people. Because I picked up on that too, because at times it did feel as if he was slipping in and out of Sylvester, like as a personality. And I don't know if that's because of like the acting abilities that he has of just literally like getting into character and having to stay in character for so long that he found himself like becoming Sylvester. Like, you know, sometimes when actors go too method, they get lost in the role and they can't come out.
Right.
That's how it felt to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's probably a danger because he burnt out of bodies really quickly. And now he's back in a body that is less durable than the ape form. So it's been a while since he's been in a body that's less durable and is less inclined to, you know, to have those feelings and different things like that. So it's probably hard on him because he hasn't had to deal with that for decades, probably.
That's probably true. Yeah. Well, because he hasn't been able to be around people when you're a giant albino gorilla. You can't really just go wandering about in society and interacting. So.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, we're going to dive into the JSA and our Friends and Frenemies section, although Frenemies is kind of seeming to be not really the case so much anymore, but we'll stick with it. We've only got one more episode. All right, so we're going to kick it off with Artemis. I thought this was a really interesting scene. In hindsight, it becomes even more interesting. So I've got several questions. I'm just going to kind of lob them out there, and maybe we can kind of talk through it.
Yeah.
All right. So the scene I'm thinking of, I think is the only one. Sylvester essentially talks her out of going after Jordan, which does arguably save her life. So you kind of wonder, like, why? Like, wouldn't Jordan have killed her? Like, you know, like if she was going to go after Jordan, like, there's no way Artemis is going to survive. I mean, he's so powerful. Like, she'd be gone like in a heartbeat. So if he's just gonna kill her, like, why is Sylvester trying to save her if Sylvester is Ultra-Humanite and he's working with Jordan? So is Jordan maybe trying to keep his nose clean to stay in good graces with his son? Because if he kills Artemis, I mean, surely Cameron wouldn't forgive him for killing one of his classmates. It just seemed, in hindsight, it seemed weird. At the face of it, it seemed like, oh, Sylvester's trying to protect her and whatever. But now we know there's a whole ulterior motive. I just don't get why.
Yeah, good question. Maybe they figure that they can manipulate her from the shadows because she doesn't know them and their tactics like her parents did, or that they can just put her out of the picture by getting her to college, that they maybe figure that they kind of owe that because they killed her parents, but there was that good relationship that they had with her parents for years. So maybe there's that. But honestly, we'll get into this more. I think there's two different agendas going on. But why? Yeah, I agree. Why would Jordan let Ultra-Humanite let her live? So I don't know. But, there's multiple agendas. So that's just my thoughts is, they figure they can get her out of the way. She's not going to cause much of an issue. And if she does, we'll just get rid of her then. But,
right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's what we're going with for now. We'll see if we get any answers in the finale. All right. So moving on to Rick here. Now, Sylvester, or I guess I'm going to call him Sylvester, even though we know he's the Ultra-Humanite. It's just going to get confusing, but here we are. He absolutely 100% tricked Rick into removing the limiter so that he would take himself out of commission, because I guess he clearly thinks that his strength is like a huge threat. Because
right.
I remember us saying, like, we thought it was so odd that he would tell Rick about the limiter and that he would almost like encourage him without encouraging him to take it out. Mm-hmm. And now we know why. We're like, this feels odd. This feels fishy. I feel like Flash even said something along the lines of, he's doing it on purpose. He's trying to like sabotage him or something. And he definitely was.
Yeah. And I mean, we found out that his dad dealt with the same issue himself. And it was a JSA that helped out, and hopefully our JSA can help Rick figure out this thing and overcome his addiction too. But yeah, it's just so hard because Rick's going to, like, he's dealing with that addiction, and he's admitting that he needs help, but also he's got to feel like anger at himself because he was trusting Sylvester all this time and not seeing through things, because we know that he takes things personally and he wants to protect the team, and now he's feel like he's letting down the team because he's addicted and he didn't see through things. So it's just going to be rough on Rick all around, because mentally, emotionally, physically, everything, because of this. And I mean, it's just masterful the way that Ultra-Humanite did this to each of our different characters.
I mean, it really is. And I like how they did showcase a few of the scenarios, maybe more of like the obvious ones. But again, I almost need to go back and rewatch the entire season to catch all the little things and little nuances, because we'll see every interaction completely differently now.
Right. I always felt like he was playing to Rick, Yolanda, and Beth differently than the Dugan Whitmores.
Yeah.
And I kind of understood that, like, he knew that they were more pliable and he could get them maybe to be with him in the fight against the former ISA members, and that was the reasoning. But now it's just so much bigger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
Because I liked, even though this was a manipulation, I loved how Starman, Ultra-Humanite, talked with Beth and Yolanda about finding others to take up the mantle of JSA members who didn't have kids. And this is one of the reasons that I really love the JSA comic line, was you had people picking up the legacies. Some were fans, some were family members, some were, different ones, other heroes who were taking up the mantle and continuing those legacies on so that those heroes could live on. And that's what I loved. And, I was like, oh, yes. When I saw this, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Yes, more JSA members. But I just hate that it was all for show. But maybe, maybe they can take the good with the bad and say, like, he was doing this to throw us off, but it's the right thing to do. So, once again, if we had gotten a fourth season, maybe we could have seen that as well. So.
Yeah, I definitely think they had some different plans, some bigger plans. I'm assuming to flesh out the Infinity Inc. storyline, and that like there's definitely some threads from this season that could have continued. But that being the biggest one that we know won't be I highly doubt they're going to resolve that. I don't think they can and have it all make sense. No. So I think they're going to have a hard enough time trying to resolve this, but. Again, like with all of these things, I think I'm still coming back to like what's the ultimate agenda? Or was this one of the situations where he just lost himself in being Starman, that he actually gave like solid advice? Or was it empty advice, knowing that whatever the end game is, they're never going to get the chance to do that?
I think it's probably both. I mean, I think he went in there to distract them and pull them away from the battle and thinking about legacy and, letting him, quote unquote, be the hero. But then Sylvester crept in and gave it that grain of truth and that grain of reality that made it feel real. So like it actors dig on their own emotions and they pull their own things in order to make the roles and the things more convincing. And so I think that's exactly what happened. Is he came in with an agenda, but once he got started, he was just pulling from this history and saying it like Sylvester probably would have.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's so crazy because with this reveal, I now have to question like literally everything he says and be like, but why? Why? Yeah. Like, why would you want that? It may be just as simple as he just lost himself in the character and he just embodied it and, actually was Starman for a minute, but we'll see.
Yeah. And it's rough too because he calls the family breaks with both Beth and her family and Yolanda and her family. Now, Beth is back on better footing with her parents.
Yeah.
But Yolanda's not so much. And it's just so hard because there were tensions there and just very masterfully setting each person up to break them in the way and pull them out of the line so that they're not a threat. And so just masterfully done, but so heartbreaking because it's involving these two girls' families.
Yeah, I know. No, that's crazy. I definitely think, Beth is the best off of all of them because she kind of, she did push her parents away, but she kind of has relented and they've, been able to like help her and keep her safer. So I think maybe that bit has probably backfired on him a lot, but the others were quite successful. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out, or if it shakes out. There may be nothing left to explore there. So
yeah.
All right, so Pat, we're going to move on to Pat. I really just have a lot of questions. We've got a few scenes, well, at least one where we'll hear Pat. But I want to know what happened to Pat. Do we really think he was buried alive? Did he, by some miracle, make it out of the hole while Ultra-Humanite was monologuing? Because, you just hear him talking and talking and digging and digging and throwing in the dirt, and then all of a sudden, the hole is filled. And so you can see like time has passed and he hasn't even realized what is happening. So I don't know. Did he escape? Is he buried under all that? I don't know what to think. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the hole was completely full.
No.
And I think he covered him enough so that he wasn't visible. But I think Pat's playing dead to convince Ultra-Humanite to leave before he was fully buried. Because, I mean, he's pretty tightly wrapped up, and I think it would have taken some effort that was audible for him to get out. So I think he was just playing dead, and Ultra-Humanite was like, okay, he's done. I'll he's far enough out. I'm not going to worry about fully burying him. So that's my thoughts. So we'll see.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, we'll have to see because I'm sure they'll have to resolve that pretty quickly next week. So I'd be shocked if they killed Pat's character off. So yeah. I'm willing to bet he's not dead, but I don't fully understand how he would have gotten out of that. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to call out the scenes with him searching through the McKent house because those were creepy AF. I was like, whoa. I think that scene was creepier than anything they did in season 2, which is crazy. I felt like there was some really good direction there, some awesome music choices. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I was like, this is just super creepy. Who's going to pop out from where?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It reminds me of, some of the best scary movies and those type of things are where they leave so much to your imagination.
Yes.
They give the audio design, the visual cues, but it's not throwing it in your face the entire time. It's using your own mind to play against you, and this is definitely what was happening here. And yeah, I agree. This was scary because I'm like, is Jordan going to pop out? Is it going to be, it was one of the grandparents going to come out? Like, you just didn't know what to expect. So
no, it very much felt like a trap, but it turned out to be a trap, not in the way that we thought. At least not in the way that I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, we've kind of been dancing around Jordan and Cameron and the icicles, and I don't have a crazy amount because in this specific section because we've kind of been working him in throughout all of his interactions with the other characters.
Yeah.
But I wanted to call this out because I specifically harped on it. I was very happy to hear that they mentioned the art teacher. Mm-hmm. And that they didn't leave that dangling. What I'm now questioning is, does Jordan actually know that his mother killed the art teacher? He seems to think or know that he's dead, I feel. Yeah. But I want to know if he knows his mother, if his mother told him that she killed him.
I think that he knows because this is before, they're not removing cameras from his house when he's watching. They're removing cameras from everywhere else. Oh. So I think he still was watching the cameras and knew what was going on. And so I think he knows his mom did it. But he is covering for his mom for Cameron's sake because he knows how much Cameron liked the art teacher and just wants to not alienate him from his grandmother. And so I think he is just throwing it out there that it's the Ultra-Humanite because that falls into his narrative too. So
okay. So interesting.
Yes.
Everything is, I have so many questions. I don't know how much of it will get answered next week. I have so many questions.
I know, and I feel like we would never get as much as we want next week, regardless if we got another season.
True.
But, yes, the good thing is, if it's written well and it leaves you asking questions that you can think on in this way, it's good. They're doing a good job at it.
I agree. Yeah, I thought this episode was probably one of the best of the series. Like it was really well. It's really well done. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up. I guess our good guys here, or yeah, they're mostly good. We've got Jakeem, Mike, Thunderbolt, and Cindy, who is sometimes gray, but for now we're putting her on team good guy, good girl, whatever. You know, the heroes.
Yeah.
I thought this was kind of interesting. It seems that Jakeem is getting the hang of this whole wishing thing. He's kind of, I think, got the intent down and enough of the wording down that, like, if he has the right intent, he doesn't necessarily have to write out like a 50-page monologue just to get the wish to come right. So I think he's starting to get the hang of it, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good. I really appreciated that he was bold enough to go for it, and you know, Thunderbolt took them exactly where they needed to be.
Which was not exactly what I was expecting. I mean, yes, they wanted to go to Dr. Ito's lab, but really where he took them was straight to Dr. Ito himself.
Right, yeah. So Ultra-Humanite Starman.
Yeah.
Starman, as I've gotten the notes, says he pushed Cindy away, and he pushed Mike, Jakeem, and Thunderbolt into danger.
Yes.
But I don't think he realizes what a team that they make all together. So I am very interested to see what's going to happen with the three of them showing up in the season finale and how that plays into things, because I think he has definitely underestimated them. I think he underestimated Cindy, but I think he's also underestimated all of them working together as a group, because I think like he probably thought that Dragon King would have taken out Mike and Jakeem and Thunderbolt, and probably would have, you know, if it hadn't been for Cindy. So I think he just didn't realize, you know, the group effect of all three of them together.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think we also now know why he never killed Cindy in the woods. He had to know she was there. But it's his daughter, so he's
gonna
kill her.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, that wasn't Dr. Dragon King. Yeah. That's why he didn't kill her. Yeah,
exactly. Because I think we were all kind of wondering, we're like, how is Cindy like? I mean, yes, she can regenerate, and you know, she's very smart and has very good abilities, and she's very capable. But I think we were all kind of wondering, like, how is she getting how is she going to get the better of Ultra-Humanite? How has he not found her out there in the woods if he was chasing Mike and Jakeem and they literally ran right into her? So I don't know. So I thought that was interesting, but it must be that if he knew she was there, he's not going to kill her because it's really Dr. Ito.
Yeah.
So that's just, puts other scenes in different perspectives for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Crazy. Ready to roll into the villains? All right.
Yes.
So we're going to go back to Ultra-Humanite / Starman, since we can't really figure out how to refer to him.
Yeah.
And I want to call out the way he treats Pat and Courtney, because wow, this was one of the most brutal things I have seen like in a while. Like just the way that he tore into Pat and like really just was trying to completely just tear him down and like almost break him, it felt like.
Right.
Like at this point, since obviously we don't have the reveal, I really did think that he was trying to push them away to protect them in his like weird psychotic way, because he's been kind of weird and psychotic all season. And I'm like, well, I guess this is just how Starman, and he's really a big dick. Turns out he did that in a way, but also I think he was provoking him because I think he knew in the end that Pat was going to follow him and that he was going to go alone. And that's exactly what he wanted. Although why? Like, this does beg the question or raise the question, why? Why does he want to kill Pat? Like, why does he care? Just to get him out of the way?
I think, you know, those were my thoughts too. I think he underestimated Pat when he first came to town.
Yeah.
And I think because he was drawing on Sylvester, and Sylvester only saw him as this sidekick, but he saw how much influence Pat has had over these kids and what he was doing. And he knew that he had to separate them. And that's what I was talking about earlier, where he was treating the Whitmore Dugans differently than the other members of the JSA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's largely because of Pat, because like he was dividing them in kind of secret and, you know, kind of pulling them to the side so that, like, you know, and my thoughts were like, you know, earlier in the season, he's forming his own group and, you know, he's going to pull them away. But really, he's dividing them out. And I think he was tearing down Pat because even without Stripe, he knew how much of an influence he is on those kids. And so if he is causing Pat to second guess himself and take him out of things, then he is going to be distracted and not help the kids put two and two together.
True. Okay.
But I also agree that I think he also had contingency plans. Like, you know, he tore Stripe apart, but I think he was like, he's showing up with a flamethrower, and so he's got contingency plans. He's smart. Is not as much of a planner as Brainwave and some of those others, but he's a planner, and so he had built in contingencies there, and so I think it's part of the plan. And I think he must have loved talking about Courtney. Mm-hmm. Courtney being distracted by her love for Cameron. Like, he was like, oh, you're in love with Icicle Jr. and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But, like, he must have loved it because it made it easier for him to have more time with Cosmo and taking Cosmo away. So having that distraction there, and also her not being sure of herself because she's keeping the secret about being with Cameron, and she's not feeling like she's good enough, and then it makes it easier for him to take Cosmo away because she's not a leader. And so it was really, really masterful here of his interaction with this group.
Yeah, no, I think those are all really excellent points. And I hadn't really like thought about it in that way of like him having contingency plans, but it's almost also like he just adapts on the fly. So his first move didn't work, right? So his immediate backup plan of Pat staying behind. So his immediate backup plan was to destroy Stripe, so Pat would stay behind. And then he underestimated, I guess, Pat's resourcefulness or whatever, and so Pat shows up. But he rolled with it, and then he took him out of commission, and then that's, I think, I'm sort of answering my own question, that's probably why he decides to just kill him off.
Yeah. Because
he's smart enough to know that once he did that Pat's now figured it all out, so he has to kill him. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah,
which is probably what would have happened to Artemis.
Yeah, true. So I want to get into my theories here, because I think Ultra-Humanite has fallen in love with acting, and we hear how like he missed being able to be out in the world and not in that body of the albino gorilla. But I think he's gotten lost in it, and he wants to play hero to the world. And I think his plan is to be Starman to the world. Mm-hmm. And with the JSA out of the way, then he can do whatever he wants without wearing himself out in his bodies as quickly. I think the only reason, that we learned from that flashback that he transferred out of the actress's body is because of the JSA getting wind of him.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been easy for him to play all those roles and be in different places because she's an actress and da-da-da-da-da. But it was the battles and the finding out, and that was starting to wear him out. And that said, okay, I've got to find a body to deal with a situation. Well, if I've got the JSA out of the way, I can be the hero. I can play that hero. And I think that is maybe would play into a little bit of what Icicle wants to do with the world too, but maybe, they're at odds. So, but I think he just really enjoys playing the hero, and without the real people there to call him out on it, he can do that and just have a ball doing it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's a good part of it. And he does seem to get lost in that role. We've kind of called out a few times, and you really see it in those ending scenes where he starts to kind of slip in and out, even to the point where you think Pat's convinced him to let him go, and then he snaps out of it, like he catches himself. But to your question about him, burning out the bodies or wearing out the bodies, I've got one question and then one theory. So First question is, have they mentioned that in the TV show that happens? Because I know that's like a comics thing, right?
Yeah, they I think that in the info dump that they gave us between Sylvester and Pat last week, that they talked about a little bit of his history.
Okay.
So I think they mentioned it there about burning out bodies, but I can't exactly be sure, but I think they said something about it.
Okay.
I know they mentioned switching bodies. I don't know if they necessarily meant, but I think I do remember them talking about, him being an old man, and that may not have been his original form, when they first met him. So I think there was some talk about that somewhere in there. So
yeah, it's gotten a little confusing. But
yeah,
one advantage to Starman or having his body is the connection to the staff.
Right.
Because if the staff can prevent a body from decomposing, then maybe it can prevent it from deteriorating, if that's what happens when he is in a body too long.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing about him having control of Cosmo.
Yes.
Is having the link to that energy, because I think if it had come out that he was in Sylvester's body and Courtney still had that strong tie, then Cosmo could break that tie to the body, and then he would just burn out and maybe even just die on the spot, because he wouldn't be able to survive. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if in the finale she wins Cosmo back. I feel like that has to happen. Yeah. Otherwise, that won't really give us any closure whatsoever for the series. Right. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that all ends up working out.
Yeah. We know that she is guest starring on Titans, and it'll be in 2023.
But it's a different version of her, isn't it? Technically, a different Earth?
Maybe. Yeah, it's a different Earth than she's on now. But they talked about that their talks for next season was that there would be some world hopping and things like that. That was part of their plan.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Gotta catch up on Titans.
Yeah, me too. I haven't. That's one of the things I'm going to do over break is catch the first half of this season. So I haven't been so busy. I hadn't got to watch. But anyway, I hear it's good. But anyway.
All right. Did you have any other points on Ultra-Humanite?
Yes. So honestly, I think Ultra-Humanite has underestimated the JSA because his plans and the plans that Icicle and Dragon King have don't necessarily line up. I think that's going to cause the defeat to come in because he is playing for his ends and they're playing for their ends, and we'll get into what those might be. And I think between those things being at odds, they're going to underestimate the JSA and things are going to play, out. Because I don't think you can have all three of these super-powered villains and our group and have it turn out well for our group without there being some other stuff going on. So I think they've underestimated the JSA.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely think they've underestimated them. I think that Ultra-Humanite probably has enough hubris to think that he's dismantled all of them enough and that they're going to all come together in the end. Now, what will be interesting to see is where Cameron lands.
Right.
I have a feeling he's going to join Team JSA, but how that's all going to happen, I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man! All right. Well, speaking of icicles, I've got a little bit more to talk about with Jordan here. My first thing I want to say is I definitely think he killed the Crocs on purpose.
Oh yeah.
He's clearly got an end game in mind, and I think he needed them out of the picture. So he lured them down there, or Starman / Ultra-Humanite lured him down there, or Ito lured them down there. Somehow there was a very clear path of flyers taking them straight to Jordan. So I definitely think he murdered him.
Yeah, I think the same is true of Gambler.
Yeah.
I think all three of them had turned over a new leaf and would play against the master plan. They knew the manipulation and would call it out. And that was the reason they were all killed. They could not be in there because they were just going to mess up the plan. And so I think that was the reasoning for the killing of all three. And it was very intentional.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Jordan's endgame. I would love to theorize on this, but I honestly have no idea. Like, I have no earthly idea what his endgame could be, unless I doubt it's the same as what he wanted before. I mean, I know he wants a better America, but what's the new way he's come up with to get that? I don't know. It's also confusing me because it's clear he needs Ultra-Humanite and Ito to pull off this charade, but I still am left wondering why. Like, why does he need the both of them? How is this all going to work? How is this all going to come together? And who's going to betray who? Are they all going to betray each other? It's just, it's a lot.
Yeah. I think my speculation is that the mass hypnosis possibility that Ultra-Humanite has could be a way of doing that, since they don't have the mind control satellite to control people anymore. So maybe they're going to do it on a much smaller scale, doing it, in smaller groups. So you've got Jordan coming to a town under the guise of American Dream, and they've got Starman with him as his, celebrity, and they're using the mind control ability to push forward the agenda in that town. So they're doing it in small bits that way. And then you've got Ito's still got the drive and the scientific abilities and different things that they may need to make it more lasting or something like that. I just don't know, but that's speculation on my part of why. But I don't know the full end game either. And is his end game change from the end of season 1? Maybe. Because he saw that it's going to have to be done on a much smaller basis, little by little. Maybe they're not going to like create their own America. They're just going to take little pockets here and there and build and build. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
I know. I don't either. I mean, hey, you've got some theories, which is kind of more than I can say. I'm just left with question after question after question. So I don't know. Well, hopefully I get a little bit of closure in the finale there. But let's talk about our final villain. We've been talking about all of them, but just a few specific notes on Dr. Ito. I found that to be very unexpected that he showed back up, although I was beginning to have a sneaking suspicion he would turn out to be alive after they featured him in the cold open. I didn't think it was going to be in that way. I thought they would just end up like finding him. Like once they were like, oh, we need to go back to his lab, I'm like, oh, he's definitely there. And I was expecting him to be there, just not in the way that we saw him. When they pulled back, I was like, oh, maybe he really is dead when they see his body. And then they like pulled it back. I was like,
yeah,
what?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think he is such a, experimenter that we see that he was jealous of Ultra-Humanite choosing that body. Mm. And so now he gets that body and he gets to expand his skills by experimenting on this new body. So, he's been working on his for decades and decades and kind of ran to the end of what he could do with it. Mm-hmm. And now he's in this new body, new strength, new ways to experiment and do things. So I think he's just, a kid in a candy shop. He gets a new way of doing things. So I think he was happy for the swap. So
yeah, no, I think so too. I keep finding myself going like, exactly how does all of this work? And I'm like, don't think too hard about this. It's a comic book TV show. Just accept that they've put brains in other people's bodies and it just works.
Right, exactly.
Because the rest of Sylvester's organs didn't deteriorate, just his brain, because it totally makes sense in a comic book. It doesn't, but I have to ignore it. I'm just letting everybody know that I am fully recognizing that legit none of this makes sense, and I'm just rolling with it because if I keep questioning it will all fall apart.
Yeah. So my question is, what does he plan for Cindy?
Ooh, good question.
Because it's not like he is going to cure her of her transformation into the dragon, form.
Right.
And she knows that, and she's not going to yield to him because she knows that he's not going to heal her. So what is his plans for her? Because, like, is he going to kill her? Like, is he going to lock her up again and experiment against her will like he did in the past that we've seen? But, like, what's his end game for having her? Because she is too strong to really be, like, a test subject that he wants. He can't manipulate. Like, yeah, maybe Ultra-Humanite could, like, hypnotize her or other stuff like that. But, like, I don't know what his end game with Cindy is. Speculations on your half.
I wonder if he thinks he can convince her to join him. I mean, he doesn't care about Mike and Jakeem. He would kill them in a heartbeat or capture them and keep them for test subjects. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I could see him doing that for sure. Fresh meat, if you will. I think he might try to convince her to join him. And when that doesn't work, because I do think that Cindy has embraced being on like the good side and wants to truly be like part of the JSA, even if she's got a more gray way of operating.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I don't know that he would kill her. I mean, maybe he would. I don't know if she doesn't go, she gets in the way. I guess I could see him killing her, but I guess I would put my money on either he's going to try to convince her, which I don't think will work. And then maybe imprison her, like you said, for further experiments or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know.
So they have a lot to try and, if we say this every season, they really do have a lot, though, to try and make sense of all of this and wrap this series. I mean, I know stuff there's going to be stuff left on the table, but still.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if it's stuff that, like, I have no issue with, like, when you're talking about a comic book hero team, I have no issue of things being left on the table so that you know that they have a life after the series finishes. Like, you know, it continues on. It'd be like you just finished an arc in a comic and you put that down and you stop your subscription.
Yeah.
They're still out there having adventures, and if I wanted to, I can go back in there and pick that up.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, you see something in a reboot or whatever. Like, it's continuing on. Like, the universe doesn't stop because the TV, you know.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
But they don't have to answer all the questions if they give us, like, okay, this is how they're going to continue. If they don't, then that's another issue. Now, are they going to do that well enough for us of, like, we've got some answers, we got how they have a path forward, then that's okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to Legends, where
we ended on a massive cliffhanger.
Right, exactly. So, like, sure, we know that they're going to get out of it and do whatever, but, like, that's not how you do anyway. So.
Nope, I'm with you.
Yep.
So, here's to hoping.
Yeah.
Come on, writers.
Definitely.
You've been doing so well. Let's bring it home.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's take a listen to our favorite scenes.
Shape out an eagle!
So, Harley, you are up first.
I am. And I chose the scene where Courtney kind of tells off Starman and defends Pat, because I felt like Starman tearing Pat down was too rough to listen to, although it was brilliantly acted. I do think it was very amazing to watch. But I thought this was a really great scene between the two of them, and I love just Courtney's realization for the person who's really always been there for her. So I called this one, You're Not My Hero.
You heard us?
All of it.
Well, it is what it is, kid.
You know, since the day I found the staff, you've been my hero. I even thought you were my father for a while. But when Brainwave came after me, it was Pat who saved me. And when Cindy hurt me, it was Pat who got me to the hospital. And when my dad came to take that locket and I was absolutely crushed, Pat was there for me too. He's been there for me every time I've ever needed him. So, you're not my hero. Pat is.
I need the staff.
I'm not giving it to you. Cosmo?
No. You stay. You may have swayed the staff to yourself before. But deep down, you know it belongs to me. You're not worthy of it. I'll be back after I go take care of Icicle.
Stop.
Sorry, kid.
So I did decide to leave that last little bit in there because I don't know. I was like, we need the whole scene. It kind of does change the tone a little bit, but I was like, I feel like this is an important moment and I wanted to play the full thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was so powerful because of how she really appreciates Pat and is really beginning to see who he is in her life. Not just somebody who can offer some advice, but more of a dad. And I love that. I really, I'm hoping that he's okay because yes. I don't want that to be like her to like feel like she wished she had told him that in person and things like. So yeah, I agree. This was really, really powerful. And I really appreciated it.
Yeah, great scene.
All right. So my scene I called Lying to Protect, and no surprise, it's a scene with Zeke in it. So it's the little scene with Zeke and Pat. So let's take a listen and we'll talk about it.
Oh, man. This is not good at all.
See, what happened?
Sylvester. That's what happened.
He did this?
Yeah, I walked in, he went flying off like a witch on a broomstick.
Zeke, he's lost his mind.
Well, maybe that's what he wants you to think. Let me run this by you, Dugan. Maybe, just maybe, Sylvester is doing to you what you did to little Dugan when Eclipso was prancing around Blue Valley.
What did I do?
You told Mike to meet you when Stripe was fixed, knowing good and well it wouldn't be. You lied to him to protect him.
So he's lying to protect me. He'd rather we hate him than have us get hurt. Sylvester's gonna get himself killed. Grab that wrench. I gotta move fast.
Hold on, Dugan. I'm as fast as they come, but putting old Humpty Dumpty together here is gonna take more than a few minutes.
I understand that, but I got an idea.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was fun, taking the flamethrower out of Stripe. That was a good idea. But yeah, I love this because Zeke talking about Mike, and we know Pat feels so much more now for Mike after spending time in the Shadowlands, and he is really considering what he has done for Mike and is that the best, and him questioning that. But then to hear Zeke remind him about the events of last season, keeping him out of the action to protect him was really powerful. And I really hope that we get to see some type of Pat and Mike repair their relationship. And I would have loved to see it play out more slowly over future seasons rather than just immediate repair. But I mean, I think this was very telling, and I appreciate the insight that Zeke has given us all through this season, especially into the events and motivations of things and helping people see. So I loved it.
No, I thought that was a great scene. I loved it too. And unfortunately, I think of things that are going to be left on the table, This will probably be one of them. I think this would have been, to your point, slowly more developed, at least throughout the next season, if not longer than that. I think they were trying to tee it up, and I think we will probably get a little bit of them like coming together in the finale somehow, or some touching scene maybe in like the wrap up, so that we can see that they're on their way, that they're on the right path. Right. But yeah, I don't. Now we'll never. We won't be able to watch how that would have played out. Which I agree that would have been nice to see.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they've definitely been trying to set that up all season for sure.
Yeah. Too. All right. Well, we appreciate your support. We've got some great supporters on Patreon, and so we want you to be a part of that. So listen to this, and this is tell you how to do that.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Keep it to yourself now. Come on, baby, talk to us. It's feedback. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's always a fun one. I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's also short and sweet. All right. Well, first up, we've got an email from Comic Geek Kev. And he says, "Hey, Legends. What the what? The team up we never expected to see. Ultra Dragon King and Starhumanite. Oh, yeah. And that ice guy." There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Watching the team put the pieces together and Sylvester, quote unquote, walk through his machinations was great. We knew something was off, especially with the limiter, but this is not what I expected. One thing you have to give this show, they're pretty damn good at misdirection. I can't believe it's almost over forever. It's just getting revved up. I know, it is just getting revved up. It's such a shame. So I just need to get this out of the way. I find it very doubtful the ISA took down a group that had Dr. Fate and Spectre on the other side. But anywho.
So, yeah, just to address that, there's some chatter going on in the Facebook group about that, and online too. And I think some of those were taken down by Eclipso, not necessarily during that group fight. I mean, I don't remember all the people who were at the group fight at the beginning of season 1, but I don't think either one of those were there, because those two are powerhouses. And so I think they were taken down maybe earlier, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, good points either way.
Mm-hmm.
The title of this one was something. I thought it was referring to Sylvester dying, and when he told the kids to keep their legacy going, it seemed that was really the way it was going. Of course, he is dead. Just not the way I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Or any of us.
Yeah.
Courtney's hero speech was great. I just wish she didn't have a smiley face shirt on. It's true. And Cosmo was a big disappointment by leaving her at that moment. Mm-hmm. The Ito gorilla reveal to Cindy was fantastic. We better see some Thunderbolt next episode.
Mm-hmm.
That whole last scene with Pat and Sylvester was literally chilling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mikhail did a great job being a sinister psychopath, and that last shot when he realizes, as we do, that the hole is filled back in, dang, that was well done. See, he's with me. He thinks the hole is filled. Okay, it'll be interesting to see how I want to know how it shakes out. They will definitely answer that. I know that for a fact. So. I hate that we won't get to see the aftermath of this betrayal in a following season. I feel confident this would weigh on the team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, I'm going to miss this show. It has some clunkers, but this was A+++. Until next time, I'm giving this one 9.9 out of 10 body swaps. Rick's addiction to the power is a predictable trope. Otherwise, 10 out of 10. Laughing, crying emoji. Comic Geek Kev.
Good stuff. Yeah, I agree. Good stuff.
Yes, lots of good points. You're right there with us on many of them. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got a voicemail from Perry White.
Hey Cosmic Crew, Perry White here with feedback for Stargirl's penultimate episode, The Last Will and Testament of Sylvester Pemberton. That's a mouthful. So first off, freaking wow, what a darn good episode. This episode feels like the Stargirl writer's room kept getting tweets, texts, and messages about how Soups and Lowe's writers were the kings of plot twists and WTF moments, and the Stargirl writer's room got fed up and said, hold my beer. All season long, Flash in particular, has felt like something was off with Sylvester, and we find out he was wholly correct. Good for you, Martin. However, the something that was wrong proved to be a brilliant masterstroke by the writers. And it brings up so many of the questions. So, going back to season 2, why did Starmanite, and yeah, that's what I will be calling him from now on.
Amazing.
Why did he help Courtney and the JSA take out Eclipso at the end of season 2? If his plan was to kill everyone, why would he help save Courtney and the JSA? My only guess is that Starmanite could not have taken out Eclipso on his own, so he used Courtney and the JSA to take out a bigger threat for him.
Good point.
And while we all felt like Sylvester was acting weird and strange and unhero-like all season, the Ultra-Humanite said he went to great pains and lengths to understand Sylvester so he could fool Pat and sort of assume his identity. Which leads me to believe that although we felt like Starman wasn't acting like a hero, his actions appeared to be enough in line with who Starman is that it fooled Pat. So we're still sort of stuck with the fact that Starman has been a bit of a jerk all the way back to the beginning. Here's another question. As sentient as Cosmo appears to be, does he have much say in the way that he's used? By that I mean, if Cosmo understands that Starmanite has sinister intentions, can Cosmo choose not to aid him? All right, here's another question. So, Dragon Killer put Ultra-Humanite's mind consciousness into Sylvester, and Starmanite then transferred Dragon King into the albino gorilla body. But when exactly did that happen? Because Dragon King was dead, right? And if it was after DK's death, how was his mind body preserved in the first place? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was some sort of experiment that he did to himself to put himself in some kind of stasis or something that they will probably try to explain for it all. But I kind of sort of need that timeline fleshed out a little bit. And also, when did Icicle come on board? And why would he align himself with the Ultra-Humanite? Questions, man. I just have so many questions. Here's another one. Why would Starmanite feel like he could fool Pat, but have to keep Cindy preoccupied with Yolanda? How would Cindy have been able to uncover the deception when Pat would or could not? Finally, why did it take us until the penultimate episode of the season/series to get to all of this greatness? If Jade, and Obsidian don't show up in the finale, the entire Infinity arc was a waste, and those episodes could have better been devoted to getting to this stuff sooner. By the way, those three have to show up, right? Because there's no way in hell that the JSA, as it's constituted, could beat the unholy trinity of, hi, I'm back, Sickle, Dragilla, Gorilla, and Starmanite. The only way that that could happen is if Icicle has been playing Starmanite and Dragilla Gorilla this entire time. Anyway, I give this episode 9.9 shovelfuls of dirt out of 10. And on a side note, I hope that this isn't the last that we see of Pat. But what kind of miracle save could he get that's going to get him out of this predicament? I mean, no one really truly knows where he is, unless he somehow configured that flamethrower to also be some sort of oxygen tank. I think he's a goner. Anyway, like I said, as far as the rating, it's a 9.9. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because we should have gotten here so much sooner. That just leaves us one episode to wrap up all this stuff, and there's one thing we know about Stargirl. Their finales all feel rushed. Anyway, this has been Perry White making his deadline one more time. And unfortunately, the finale will be the very last time that I get to make a deadline for Stargirl. That's pretty darn sad and unfortunate. But at least I'm hyped to see the finale. Anyway, I look forward to hearing what other folks had to say about this episode. And I am out.
Yeah, I'd love to see a timeline. You know, I would very surprised to see a flashback in this episode.
Yeah.
But that we needed. But will we get that, timeline of how Dragon King win? I don't think so.
No.
They got too much else to do. They're not going to. It would be really nice, but I don't see it happening.
No, so. I don't see it happening either. He had another question there that I felt like I was going to try to respond to, but I didn't write it down, and now I don't remember what it was. But lots of good stuff, lots of questions. We all have lots of questions, and we're just hoping to get enough closure to be happy with where they could go for the rest of their lives that we won't get to see play out on the screen.
Yeah. Come on, Jeff Johns. Do us right in the finale. So.
You got this.
All right. Well, closing us out this week, we've got Dad L.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. It's Dad L with my thoughts on the penultimate episode of Stargirl. Wow, so many twists and turns and reveals. I'm still in shock from it all. I will say that Sylvester, I knew something was wrong with this guy, with the rage and the outbursts, just very unheroic. So it turns out that Ultra-Humanite's brain was in Sylvester's body. Had no idea that was coming. I thought something was up. I thought there was no way they can address this if there is, but wow, this episode packed it in, and I thought it was great. Though I would like to see some level of realization from Cosmo that this is not the real Starman. We've kind of been given the indications that Cosmo has some level of sentience. I hope he can choose Courtney over this fake Sylvester Ultra-Humanite.
Yep.
I think Jeff Johns is a master planner. If you ever read any of his comics, you can see how he plans things out. And obviously he's done that with this show as well. Because wasn't it at the end of season 1 where he first saw Sylvester talking to Mike's mom at the cafe? And now they actually flash back to that scene. So the whole time, apparently this has been the plan. And wow, it's just excellent writing and producing all along. Sole nitpick is that Stripe. Has he been in action at all this season? Maybe he has for a little bit, but I can't recall off the top of my head. We didn't get him in this episode either. I know that's probably budgetary reasons, but it's been a real bummer not having Stripe out in the field. And by the way, what an awesome speech by Courtney. Pat Dugan is my hero. What a great moment that was. And in honor of Pat and Stripe, I'm going to give this episode 9.5 flamethrowers. Looking forward to the finale. I know you guys talked about this on the podcast last week, but we cannot have a 10, 15, even 20-minute finale with the rest of it being epilogue. We really need a significant throwdown. It's got to go at least 30 minutes. Give us 10 to 15 minutes of resolution and epilogue to wrap things up nice. But please, this is the last episode. We need an epic throwdown. Come on and give that to us, Stargirl. Dad-Al, last father of Krypton.
So in season 1, we got Starman showing up at the landlord's house.
Right.
And then in season 2, we got him showing up at the diner with Mike's mom. So they weaved it in all 3 seasons. So yeah, masterful.
It's clear that it's been the plan, like from the beginning, which is impressive. Right. To answer your question about Stripe, we did see Stripe in action, and I believe he was taken out of commission originally after the fight with the Crocs, because Starman confronts the Crocs.
Yeah,
and they have that big, crazy supermarket battle that was like amazing to watch. And Pat flies in with Stripe at the end to break everything up.
Yeah. So we did get to see him in the field.
Yeah, it wasn't like a big fat battle or a big fight or a big moment, but they did actively use him at least in that episode. Maybe one more, but yeah, he gets taken out of commission after that, and then of course Sylvester makes sure to take him out of commission. So,
yeah, definitely. All right. Well, if you want to be like these good folks, this is what you got to do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
All right. Up next week, Chapter 13, The Reckoning.
What a name.
I know. So reminder again, you've got an extra week and a day to get your feedback in. It's due on the 17th, but don't wait too long.
Don't forget, it's your last chance.
Yes, so...
Oh man, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a doozy. I agree with Dad L's comments. I really hope that they give us a lot more meat in the fight than they have in past seasons, and I wonder if that's part of what they may have done when they reshot some scenes because we know that they had to change the ending, or did they film it two different ways? Either way, there was a plan in place, so I'm hoping there's enough footage that it makes everybody happy.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm hoping they can wrap things up well and make this worth everything, and I am excited. I really want to hear Flash's thoughts about this week and see how he thinks everything's going to feed into the finale.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, don't forget, definitely send some good vibes. Keep him in your thoughts and prayers this week.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I guess we can wrap this up here. We're going to go, I guess it's not really out of order. I typically sign off before you. So we're going to talk to you guys in a week, and hopefully we'll have Mr. Flash back with us where he belongs. But until next time, I'm Harley Quinn, and I'm out.
This is X-Force 11. So say we are.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.
Insert news.
Insert news clip here.
Yes, because I don't have it. Oh, hang on one second.